Stay. Winston and Felix here, and Winston's looking rather serious, and I tell you why. We've got some serious news. The United States of America lost a huge amount of jobs today. Massive amount. I'll tell you the number. 1 million jobs lost just today. Winston's having to lie down on that news because it sounds pretty serious, doesn't it? And in all seriousness, I want to explain that to you and what that actually means for you as an investor. And guess what? There is an opportunity in this. There is a way to make money out of this if you actually understand what the heck's going on here. And then as a bonus, I also want to run through with you what's happening to some of the biggest stock names out there right now, like Nvidia, like Broadcom, very different stories, and how you can be prepared for what's coming. So the rest of 2024 will be glorious for you, Santa rally or not, and 2025 will be the best year ever. You can be as happy as Winston, who does now look rather exhausted and tired. That was quite a lot of effort for him. So let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question here, if I can find a pen. So the US is losing 1 million jobs today. And I'll explain just in a second exactly how that works. Is that either good news or is that bad news from your point of view? If it's good news, put a 1 in the chat. If it's bad news, put a 2 in the chat. Let me just see what people think of this as a concept. Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. That's what we're going to look at. Okay, I'm also seeing the little poll here. Okay, I love that. Right. Stick thinks it's good news. Fox Gaming thinks it's true. It's bad news. John thinks it's very good news. Okay, some of you like making people unemployed, hey? It's pretty mixed. Very interesting. Okay, some of you have been watching me for a while, right? And my endless rants about unemployment and how that can actually be a silver lining. But quite a lot of you think it's bad news, which is sort of the normal thing. Okay, a lot more twos now. You'd normally think that was a bad thing, economy imploding or something dreadful happening, right? Well, let me show you what's going on here. This is data from Goldman Sachs, and the Department of Labor, which are basically number crunchers who make stuff up, they're going to revise down the amount of jobs created in the last quarter by about 1 million today. And that seems like a rather large oversight, doesn't it? How do you lose 1 million jobs? Well, it's a spreadsheet error. Well, no, actually, they call it seasonal adjustments. And they do that before elections, so the government looks better, and then after elections, they undo it when no one's listening. Because nobody reads non-farm payroll seasonal adjustment reports, right? I mean, nobody. It's just me, basically, and nobody else. And I tell people about it, and they run away. You know, the bar is empty when I mention it. I have no idea why. But it has a very important outcome for us. And that's why I bring it up, because this stuff's actually important. Most macro news is irrelevant, but this is actually very, very important. What happens tomorrow? Tomorrow, Jerome the Great Powell is sitting down with his fellow Fed presidents, and they'll be sitting around a large table with a large crystal chandelier sort of type thing in the middle of the table. It'll be full of brandy or sherry. And then they'll all sit there and they swig their sherries and they'll talk about, I don't know what they talk about, but they'll come to the conclusion that they will cut rates. And they basically have to cut rates because the day before, today, the US economy lost 1 million jobs. So the pretext we needed to get this probably last rate cut for a while through, which will be a quarter point cut, is here. So it's almost as if someone's arranging this, right? It's almost as if somebody is there, sort of the puppet master going, well, I'd like a rate cut. That would be good for my portfolio. And, you know, I don't know, maybe it's Nancy Pelosi or her husband, who's apparently the trading whiz in that family. So it's good news, folks. It really is very good news. I mean, it doesn't mean actual jobs were lost. It's just a statistical bit of nonsense. But it means the market is thinking, ooh, economy is a little bit softer. The Fed's going to cut. And what does that do? Well, that does a couple of things. It improves stock prices especially for tech and for risky shit. Did I just say that? I did, didn't I? Mad. And it also reduces what? Financing's cost. So anybody who spends a lot of money on equipment, on factories, and borrows money and so on, that gets cheaper. And what else happens? Car loans get cheaper, right? Mortgages get cheaper. Everything gets cheaper. And therefore, the US consumer has what? More money to spend, right? More discretionary spending, which is going to fuel the economy as we roll into 2024. Some of you saying TradeVision is not working. Okay, I apologize for that. It was just now. Let me have a quick glance over, which is our trading app here. Let me have a look. Let me just hit the refresh button. I know we just rolled out an update. So is it working? Is it not? Is it working? Is it not? Is it working? It seems to be. It seems to be working for me at least. Although, yes, there are a few bits. Something missing here. AVGO. Hang on. Otherwise, I'll ping the developers okay, yeah, there's something interesting going on here. Okay. Yeah, there's something really curious going on here. All right, the guy's going to have to roll something back. I will open my Slack for a second and ping the guys a quick message and say, panic, panic, panic. We are down. Okay. Which is stuff that happens when you do a lot of things. Okay, you guys already told us actually support. Thank you for whoever did that. I appreciate that. Support is on it and the team's on it, and it'll get fixed shortly. All right, so let's get back to what we were actually looking at here, because this is important. So while the market right now is showing you this sort of horror, you put on your sunglasses, it's pretty red. Except, of course, if you're in Tesla, which I am, which means the world's a wonderful place, and Caterpillar and Google and everything else looking a little bit bleak. But look at the numbers. They're pretty small, 0.1, 0.2, 0. This doesn't really matter, right? Hire Gemini AI to handle TradeVision coding. We do, but it doesn't, it's not quite as they advertise it. It works very well if you're starting something from scratch, but if you have something existing, you still kind of need some brains. And we have about a dozen brains working on this who are all very, very smart people. So I'm sure between all those PhDs and so on, the guys will figure it out. So we have a channel here, and Jeff, who's my partner on this, wrote yup. So they're working on it. Don't worry. They'll just roll back whatever the last update was, and then we'll be back online in a moment. And remember what I said about the consumer being quite happy about lower interest rates? Well, look at this. Retail sales just came in at 0.7% growth. That is higher than expected. And I should use a green pen for that because it was a good thing. That is a wonderful thing. The US consumer is out. It's using and abusing its plastic, and it's going to make everybody else richer, which, of course, we like, short-term people that we are. Now, I was going to tell you about the wonderful things that TradeVision is doing. So we have literally added today an integration for Webull, and also for Trading 212, so you can import your trades. And I appreciate we are offline as of this very second. But don't worry, it'll get fixed in a few minutes. But yeah, I can hopefully, does it work? Does it work? Yeah, so you can see this actually works. So you can see, say, our beautiful Tesla position here, which is now up an extraordinary amount, 230%. So you can see, when you enter the trades, this works for options. This also works for stocks equally. Both works. It works for complex trades. It works for simple trades. And so we now support basically every major broker there is, which is cool. So Webull, Trade212, Tasty, Robinhood, Fidelity, Thinkorswim, Schwab, all the major ones. And if we're missing any, let us know. We will add them to the pipeline. But yeah, super excited by that. So if you want to play around with that and actually see how much money you're making over time and track that, which I think is one of the most important things, especially look at losing trades. We also send out daily alerts from our AI indicators. So say Broadcom, buy signal yesterday, Mu, Trump Media, there's a few other things in there. And you get those twice a day as well. There's a 7-day free trial, so you completely risk-free can play around with it. And it might be that you have to wait a few minutes till the website's back. But you go to felixprehn.org/TradeVision. Links also down below in the description, as they say in some parts of the world. And does importing your trades include dividend payments? Carl, that's a very, very interesting question, and I can't give you the answer to that, but I shall ask the whiz that is building this whether we take that into account. I know we've dealt with stock splits, we've dealt with a load of stuff. Dividends, good question. I will definitely get onto that because it's important, actually. It's very important that that's properly displayed. Now, I've got another question for you, and I want to show this to you because this is a really, really good lesson in making money and then taking profits and risk management. This is the perfect kind of case study scenario, and it's live, it's today. It is, of course, Nvidia. If you look at this chart here, do you want to buy or sell this stock right now? So if you want to sell it, give me a 2 in the chat. And if you want to buy it, give me a 1 in the chat. And I want to get a bit of a feel for what do people think. If you just looked at this chart here of Nvidia and what it's doing, what do you want to do? And Imarara starts us off with a 1. Marcin wants to sell. Tony wants to sell. Buy, sell, buy. Bart wants to buy lots of it. It's pretty mixed, isn't it? It's pretty mixed. It's a bit like I'm schizophrenic here this morning. I just saw a 3. You're going to have to explain that to me. Is that an options trade or something? Yeah, very mixed. You guys are literally, I'd say, split. We're going to have to get some sort of voting app, aren't we? That would be fun. Yeah, and some people have very strong opinions about buying or selling it. Okay, so there are 2 ways of looking at a chart or at a stock. One is the very long-term horizon, and you study the company, you read all the financials, and you come to the conclusion that over the next 10 or 20 years, this stock's going to make you wealthy, and you buy and you hold till death do us part. Now, what's the problem with that? Most stocks move like this. They do nothing. They rally like crazy. They come down like crazy, and then they do nothing, right? That's sort of what happens. So depending on where you got into this thing, it was either fun or it was horrible. So say if you bought here, then, well, you had and now you're here, you had a pretty miserable time, right? And what the problem is with that is that for this time period, say it's a year, your money made no money. It actually lost money, and you could have put the money into something else that could have made you some money. So I'm generally of the view that outside of buying the index, which is not a terrible thing to do, it's a lot better than doing nothing at all. I like to manage my positions a little bit more actively. And there is a chart pattern on here, which you may or may not recognize. And it's this. Hang on. I'll use a different pen. And I'm not one who draws giraffes on charts and that sort of thing, because it's all a little nonsense. But this is kind of a pretty standard pattern. Now, what is that? This is a shoulder. This is a head. And this is a shoulder. And you might be thinking there's a little bit of imagination. Yes, true. And then this is an armpit. And this is another rather smelly armpit. And what happens is if you draw a line that connects your armpits like this, and then on the right side, you break below it, which we've done, then you take off all your clothes, you run around the house, and you start screaming at things. Because generally speaking, that is perceived as a very, 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 very horrible, bearish, nasty signal. And the world's about to end and everything will be over and you should never have gotten into this and, that sort of thing. A little bit exaggerated, obviously, but that's kind of the theory here. So there are a couple of things we can do. And if you've watched my masterclass, which is free, by the way, then you will actually learn this. And I'm about to take that masterclass offline, by the way, because we don't know how to deal with it all, which is interesting. But so you might want to watch that today, because I'll probably take it offline this week. And I draw these trends lines in here, this blue line, right, that I put in there. So what did I say to you a few days ago? When we broke below that, I said, maybe take half the trade off. And then there was a 50-day moving average line somewhere here. And I said, well, I would exit, right? And now we're a little bit below that. We're down here at 129. And everyone's going, panic, panic. It's not time to panic, but it is time to risk manage because, well, we had a similar situation over here. And then we went down all this way, right? Was that fun? No, probably wasn't. Probably wasn't fun. And yes, it bounced back up and it was all good and wonderful. But from a risk management point of view, I do some risk management. Now, if you want to learn how we do that, A1, how we spot those big, beautiful breakouts. And there are big, beautiful breakouts happening today. There really are. And you know, you can buy a great stock every single day. And most importantly, also understand risk management. Then you can do one thing and one thing only, and that is go and watch the masterclass for 30 minutes and literally leave this live stream right now and actually learn something that is going to be with you for the rest of your life. Whereas what we're talking about today is mostly going to be with you for the next week or the next couple of weeks, and maybe a few bits of inspiration and knowledge, but mostly we're looking at, you know, what's happening in the market right now. But much, much more important is to actually master what drives the whole thing and the rules that you need to actually spot the patterns and the breakouts to make you money. So I'd encourage you to watch that masterclass while it's still there. Now, this is the other side of the coin. Here's Broadcom. Who wants to buy Broadcom? Let's do that as well. Let's ask that. It's interesting to see. Would you buy this? If you want to buy this, put a 1 in the chat. If you want to sell Broadcom because of the massive rally or whatever, then you put a 2 in the chat. Let me see which way do you want to go. Marcin, you're very quick. You want to buy it? TP wants to buy it. Okay. A little bit more buying, a lot more ones here, a lot more ones, a lot of ones. So there are 1 or 2 twos here. Janet wants to sell it. Neutral. Okay, we didn't offer that, but yes. Fox is very bullish. And okay, so most of you are quite bullish on this. And actually, yeah, I would generally agree with you on this. Again, if you watch the masterclass, it'll teach you that that point here was the breakout. Maybe use a little bit more of an optimistic color here. That was the breakout. Now, you couldn't have bought there because it rallied up too much, but you could have bought somewhere here around 220. And right now we're trading at 247 or something like that. So you'd be up quite nicely. Now, here's the thing. You know what's going to happen? This is going to come down a bit. It's probably going to do that. Right? So it's going to scare you a little bit. It might even go a little bit lower than that and then come up. Almost every single breakout in the history of the stock market has done that. So you need to understand how to manage that a little bit. And it's much easier than you think. It takes a couple of clicks in a brokerage, and then you can ride through the little trough with relatively limited risk. So AVGO seems to be taking the thunder from Nvidia. And what's the theory there? Well, the theory is that they're going to help the lovelies at Microsoft. I always think of soft now when I see Microsoft. And Bill Gates somehow appears. Very, very disturbing. He's going to help Microsoft and Google to build their own chips. And that sort of the thought then is that, okay, maybe that'll take some business away from Nvidia, right? That's the theory. Custom chips, indeed, Walter. Thank you. And there is something else. And this is a little bit more fundamental. And it's good to have some understanding. If you're investing in a sector, it's good to understand a little bit what drives it, right? If you're more like medium-term trading, then it doesn't really matter so much the fundamentals. You just follow the chart. It's all in the chart. But if you want to really get into a sector like semiconductors, like chips, then it's quite helpful to understand a little bit. So the semiconductor industry typically is seen as having cycles. It's a very cyclical business. What does that mean? Well, it has ups, and then it has downs, and it has ups, and it has downs, and it has ups, and it has, you know, at some point a down. And typically it's 4 quarters down, it's 10 quarters up, more or less. That's sort of the rule of thumb. Now, is that likely to happen? Well, you could argue that Nvidia, because they're pumping out new chips every single year that are tremendously faster and more efficient and so on than the last lot, maybe we're going to have a super cycle, as Nvidia calls it, which will last for much longer than 10 quarters. Arguable, right? But there will just be a little bit of doubt in the back of all those, pinstripe nutters on Wall Street. You'll be thinking, I know they're telling me it's going to be longer, but the last two cycles, going back to 2016 or even 2014, it was always 10 quarters of growth, and then it slowed down. So I'm still going to act as if that's going to happen. And that's the problem. So Nvidia might see a little bit of a slowdown in stock chart until they can prove Wall Street wrong from the PTSD that they're suffering from the last two cycles. So groupthink is very, very powerful. Now, where does groupthink show up? In the stock chart. Very simple, which is why you don't actually need to know that much. You just need to know, look at the stock chart. So ST says 3,000 people watching, 430 likes. Yes, you see, the popularity is a fickle thing. But if I told you that you would burn an entire calorie if you hit the like button, maybe that'll do it. Think of what money you'll save on Ozempic. Assuming the entire audience is morbidly obese, of course. Okay, let me ask you something else. What is the one thing that makes people spend money and stocks go up? What's the one thing? So what comes to mind? It's the first thing that comes to mind that you think this is going to make people go out, spend money, and this is what's going to make stocks go up at the same time. Any thoughts? More money. Okay, yes, that's quite a good one. I like that. Women, says Elite. Also some truth. Greed. Yes, okay. I think you guys are going a little bit deeper than I thought. Paycheck. Desire. Okay, what's going on in your minds there? I think Elite and lag should make friends. Greed. Christmas. More greed. Okay, a lot about greed. Bargains. It's quite interesting, isn't it? What you can tell about the people who are on here. And their mindset, especially the greed people and the women people. There's another one, Nash. Love you for that. War, yes, there is also that. Peter Yan, that's a little depressing, but it's true. Okay, you guys are pretty much all correct. But Ut Maverick, which is an unusual screen name. Is actually spot on. It's expectation. Donald J. Trump, the chosen one, the old and new president of the United States, has seemed to have managed to create something that I would call optimism. And it's fairly rare in developed society. You certainly won't find any in Europe. In France, if you mention the word, you get arrested. And the Germans will just beat you to a pulp and send you back to Syria. And but you'll be the only one going. Huge percentage of people suddenly, or firms rather, companies, expect the economy to improve. And that's a pretty high threshold. This chart goes back to 1987. So in the early 1990s, when we all did not have sexual relations with that woman, people were pretty optimistic. He was rather charismatic and had a good head of hair. And then in the sort of, .com era, and then again, just 2017, just before the world collapsed. And right now we're kind of going back there. And what does that mean? More spending. Companies are going to invest more. More stuff's going to open. And that is going to herald in this new glorious era of everything will go up until it doesn't. Which is why I always say to you, set a stop loss. Before you ever buy anything, set this, decide where you put the stop loss. That's really the most important thing. And Alex says psychology, herd mentality, precisely. It's all about psychology. What the Federal Reserve does isn't about interest rates, it's about psychology, right? That's why they hold a press conference. They want to influence you to feel a certain way. But Donald has managed to dodge a few bullets, literally, and that for some reason has really, really made people feel very, very good about themselves. And that's a very, very good thing if you're an investor like you and me, and will make it much, much easier for us to make dosh, which is really what we're here for, right? Speaking of which, if you want to know how to spot the next stock that's going to make you the most dosh, then you could watch the masterclass. Now, if you just watch it and you eat popcorn during it and check your phone, it'll do absolutely bugger all for you. But if you actually sit down and listen to it and take notes and apply it, I promise you one thing, it'll change your life. It's changed my life. And guess what? It's completely free. Why? My goal is to make 1 million people financially free, because I get all these glorious messages every day from people who are insanely happy because they're making more money than ever. And they credit me with it for some strange reason. And of course, Winston should get all the credit. Shouldn't you, Winston? Yes, he's lying on the floor. So go and do that. Do that right now, in fact. And then we look at some of our popular stocks as the market opens in about 3 minutes. Alrighty, so let's have a look then at what's going on out there. So our positions are looking pretty good, right? PayPal is up 52% now. That's a bit of a laggard. I still think that's a long way to run. We got in here at $77 last. I think that was the third PayPal trade this year, maybe the fourth. So far, we are up, how much? 300%, which is rather glorious. We bought it here. And Tesla, I don't need to tell you about Tesla. It's up 200-something%. And while the market's doing this, we're smiling. I also have a new position open, which I haven't imported yet into TradeVision, which is a trade on VIX. And let me see if TradeVision is back. Is TradeVision back? Yes, it's back. Okay, thanks to the guys. Jeff just wrote, "We are back." Like the Backstreet Boys. That might be a reference that lost on you. And I set up a trade on this here, and this is a bit of an unusual one. It's a bit of a nerdy trade, but you see that we very rarely go below sort of 11 or 12 on this fear index, which is what this is. So when we're very low, I tend to set up something that makes money when it goes up. When we're very high, I tend to set up something that makes money when we go down. And it's sort of a lovely thing that we do a couple of times a year. And so far, that's working rather nicely. We're up. Here we go. This is a small teaching portfolio I've got here, and it's a live portfolio. We're up 11% on that thing from yesterday. It's a little bit of a complex trade, so it's not necessarily for everybody, but we're doing pretty well considering the market isn't having the greatest day today. We're losing $375, so nothing particularly to worry about. So party time, but PayPal goes up to somewhere. Yes, well, let's have a look at something that might make you feel a little bit more depressed. Palantir is down a little bit this morning. No particular reason. Just a bit of, down 3% at $73. Nothing goes up in a straight line. We're still within yesterday's trading range. So this really is neither here nor there. We're slowing us down a little bit from our trend, which was, meant to go up sort of in that direction, and it's slowing us down a little, but nothing particularly there to worry about. There's an interesting article today out in Bloomberg, which is probably not a sentence anybody ever said before. Bloomberg actually wrote something that made sense and was insightful and wasn't doom and gloom, that Palantir is basically at the heart of the Department of Defense's overhaul, because they want to make lots of startups make cheap things like drones and stuff like that cost $50 rather than 500 billion, which is what the cost of Boeing makes them, and they won't go anywhere, and they'll be on strike. And the only way that anybody can do that is by using Palantir's FedStart, which is, okay, basically if you want to supply the Department of Defense, you need to be compliant with all their rules. You need to have security clearance and all that stuff, and you're just not going to get that if you're a startup with 3 people and a dog. So you just go to Palantir, you register, and then you have it. It's a very, very easy way around it. And so far, only 15 companies doing that, but I think it's going to be a lot more going in the next year. And Palantir will basically be at the heart of every bit of startup and technology and innovation that happens in the defense world in the US. So I think that's hugely bullish for them. But the market is a strange beast and it doesn't really care about these things in the short term. But look at this nice rally we've had here. It started at $22 here, but it started to go green in the background. So we can't really complain about 3% down. That's the way I always look at it. Now, Tesla, to cheer you all up a little bit, although I'm a bit sad still, 3,097 of you watching, which makes me very happy, but only 734 people approve of their choice of what they're watching here. And Tesla right now is at 472. That is amazing, isn't it? How much money are we making on that? $37,000 almost. This was a what, a 15K trade? 15K trade. We're up 240%. And I think we're just getting started. That's the crazy thing. So just keeps going up and up and up and up and up. The real buy opportunity was here at 246 and then again here at 280. That was a second chance. We'll probably get a third chance, but that's kind of where the real buy signals were for me. And if you want to learn how to spot those, what do? Yes, you watch the masterclass. That's down below. And these are up examples. Okay, what I've imported here at the moment, because this is my, what I'm showing you here, this is my think or swim portfolio. These are all options. I also have a stock portfolio open somewhere. Is it open somewhere? I mean, also for teaching purposes, stock portfolio. Here it is. And we also have some pretty nice gains in there. You see those? Here, FOA is up 166%. 30% on Jeffrey. And these are quite new trades here. So, we're doing quite nicely on the stock front too. You can make a boatload of money with stocks. It's a lot easier. It's a lot simpler. It's definitely where I would start. And then if you really enjoy it and you want to learn more, you can learn options, but you don't have to. I do both. So if there are, stocks is probably the go-to. And then if there is an opportunity with options, then I will take it. Like there was with Tesla or SoFi or PayPal or so on, or with Bitcoin and things like that at the moment. But I would start simple. Start with stocks. Much easier, and you can still make, we're up 160% on that particular trade, for example. That was FOA, that perspective, which is, where did it go? That trade here, FOA, and you can see I bought it when the breakout occurred, which was down here. That was the classic breakout at sort of $9.20 or something like that, $9.36. And then we've been holding it ever since, which was September. And, making some quite nice money on that one and on a few other stocks too. So Tesla looking absolutely marvelous and beautiful and shiny and delicious. And SoFi, how are we doing on SoFi? I think the rate cut news tomorrow is going to be very good. I think it's going to be a nice little bounce for SoFi yet again. And it looks pretty good. We're slightly below the 17. So the $17 here, the resistance line in TradeVision is the thing we need to break through. We failed to go through that yesterday. The market makers won, the bastards. But we're still on a very, very nice uptrend here. So I wouldn't worry about this too much. Now, let me see if there are any questions, and I'll do my best to answer those. Christian is asking about live sessions. I think the coaches run about 2 or 3 live trading sessions a week, my friend. They all have a ton of experience, a few decades more than me. So I think you are in quite good hands there. Okay, what have we got? If you post the same stock again and again, I'm very likely to ignore you, just so you have an insight into the weird way that my mind works, because I don't like spam. What to do with Nvidia? Well, what have I been saying for a few days? Risk management. That's what it is. If you don't want to, and I'm not telling you off, but I'm telling you off. You don't want to be in a position, as in a stock or in a trade, and you don't know what to do if it drops. You need to have that set up. You need to have that automated. That's the 101 of making money. If you don't do that, you're going to get yourself into trouble sooner or later. Might not be Nvidia. It might rebound tomorrow, it might not be fine, but sooner or later, you're going to get yourself into trouble where you're down a lot, and you want to avoid that because it's avoidable and it's expensive. I think Fox is having a nap or a snack or something. Do you think it's going to be a buying opportunity in January due to selling for taxes? That's a fairly minor thing. The bigger thing is that in the second half of January, the inflows tend to slow down quite drastically. So the first 2 weeks of January are usually glorious, and then middle of the month is kind of slows down a bit, much like the buybacks kind of disappear just before Christmas. So you get into these sort of lull periods where if there is bad news, the market swings quite a lot. But look at the NASDAQ here. I mean, it's broken out of its uptrend. It's pretty glorious at 535. I really don't think you can complain about that. QUBT, yes. I also noticed that one. That was kind of hard to miss, wasn't it? That was up about 60% or something yesterday. Well, what's the beautiful thing with that? Of course, it's up a lot. But if you actually go back a little bit here to when did this breakout start? This actually started here on the 13th of November. You can see the volume. That was the buy. That here was the buy. And that would have been at, about $2. And right now it's trading at, where is it? 14. So every single rally in the history of mankind, not everyone, but 99% of them, give you this signal before. And if you want to learn that signal, watch the masterclass, because you learn it. And you'll spot it. And then you can buy that too. Did I? No, I didn't. And I'll tell you why. I've done not very little because I've just deployed pretty much all my cash into these wonderful trades, and they're performing so well that I'm not closing any of them. So I'm not really looking for that many trades. I'm setting up one today, I think, and that's about it. So I haven't been looking that hard. But if you'd looked on 13th of November, you would have spotted that because it would have been very, very obvious. It was a huge move and it was monstrous volume to what it usually is. So that would have been an absolute buy. And then you see what happens? It goes up and then inevitably it comes down again, almost to the breakout point, and then it goes back up. So there's always that, and that shakes out some people, but it's actually the second buy opportunity. Kodak's asking about the $100 billion investment from some SoftBank there. I think it's meaningless at this point. Why? Because it's just a big promise. It's a big number. It's not specific, right? He's not saying I'm building this factory here and I'm employing. It's kind of like he's got money. He's going to invest in venture capital and startups, that kind of thing. If he finds the right thing. If he doesn't, then he doesn't. Like, it doesn't cost him anything. So I don't think it really means anything. I think it's a politician's announcement, which is very well done, but it doesn't really mean anything. When searching in TradeVision, could there be an order of market cap or popularity? That's an interesting thought, my friend. At the moment, are they alphabetical, are they? I think there might be an argument made to vegetarian pig. I like your screen name. I like you vegetarian myself over here. I'd like your idea that we at least put the mega caps and that sort of thing at the top, so that you're not looking at some random thing. I sometimes find that if stocks have very short names, say you want to look for Visa cards, so you type in V and you're like, where actually Visa is actually at the top. So we did it there, right? Because that's before the other ones. Because you wouldn't really want to be looking at, Vanguard, California, tax-exempt bonds. So we must be doing it a bit, but maybe we can do it more. So I appreciate the suggestion. I shall forward it in just a flash after this. Microsoft had a buy signal. Yes, Amazon did too. Google did too. So there's a lot of stuff that's actually doing very, very nicely. And right here, right now, live, let me just hit the refresh button here. Nvidia's down a bit. Amazon is down a bit. Tesla is still green, which is nice. Google is 1% up. This is not a crash. This is not a reset. This is just it's just a Tuesday morning. Is it Tuesday? I think it's Tuesday. Nothing particularly to worry about. And yeah, it's only when you see really big moves. And even for a Palantir, a 3% move, the stock's up 300% or something. So it doesn't really matter that it's down 3 points. AMD, I think it's a falling knife. You can't get into every stock. No, absolutely. And I said that today. I put it in our community saying, don't worry about the FOMO thing. You will always miss loads of things. And every single day, there is a bunch of great opportunities out there. So don't worry that you're not in something. It doesn't matter to you which stock you make your money with. At the end of the day, when you sell it and you buy that house, or you take the holiday, or you retire, do you care where it came from? Not really, right? I don't care, but I make the money with Tesla or with CRM or with Walmart or something obscure. Couldn't care less as long as I make the money. That's really all I care about. So don't get married to a stock. Don't believe in this whole conviction bollocks that you're being peddled, because it's not about conviction. It's about, is the stock going up or down? And is my risk management in place? That's really what it's all about. Protect your money. That's your primary job as an investor, is to make sure you still have some tomorrow. Would it be possible to show historic support and resistance, says Kev? Yes, we're working on that. We're working on that, literally. That's going to happen. He's referring to here on stocks, say like a bigger stock, like a Microsoft or something, where we have the support and resistance lines. They change every week as the market positions change. And we're going to show that historically, because I think it'd be really useful to see how that affects what's going on out there. How come AMD is a falling knife? Well, look at the chart, my friend. What's it look like? Is it rallying? Is it going up? Is it going, oh my God, this stock is going to the moon? Is it? Will it load? Yeah. It was trading at $224. It's trading at half of that, right? And every single high that we get is lower than the last one. That's a bad thing. So it's bottom fishing for these sort of bargains typically means you buy it at 120 and you sell it at 60. And I'd rather not. So while the moving averages are pointing down the way they are, I wouldn't touch the thing with a barge pole. Right, there we are. Hoopierful, thank you very much. I appreciate you. Winston, any final words? Winston, come on, sit up. You sleepy. Come on, say hello. Up. Come on over here. There he is, feeling rather sleepy. He's had a long, tough day chasing naughty friends, I think. There he is. And Winston, I want to say, do one thing for yourself. Watch the masterclass while it's still there. And if you want to play with and get some really good data and track your portfolios, and we added Webull and Trading 212 today to TradeVision. There is a week's trial to it as well. The links are down below, and Winston approves. And above all, don't chase every last thing. Get rid of the FOMO, replace it with rules. It'll make you a lot more money. It'll make you sleep a lot better. And it'll make 2025 absolutely glorious. And I thank you for watching. I appreciate you. If you got some value out of this, share this video, share the channel. More people will hopefully get help and get the education that you all deserve, that we all deserve. And I hope to see you same time, same place tomorrow.